Hey everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff, and I have the BlackBerry Q10 here today. Before I resume my full review of the Galaxy S4 Part 3, I'm going to be talking about the BlackBerry Q10. It's going to be a small review. I only have a couple of days with this guy, so I really wanted to take that chance now and check this guy out. First and foremost, I want to talk about the form factor of the BlackBerry Q10. Here we have four popular devices, all with their respective operating systems. We have the Lumia 920 that is running Windows Phone 8. We have the Galaxy S4 that is running Jelly Bean 4.2.2 Android. We have the BlackBerry Q10 running BlackBerry 10. And we have the iPhone 5 that I actually have running iOS 7. In terms of size, you can see that the BlackBerry Q10 is actually quite small, although it is a little bit on the thick side. You can see that the iPhone 5 here is quite a bit taller than the BlackBerry Q10. When you line it up with the Galaxy S4, you've got quite a bit of difference here. Check out how thick the Q10 is. It is quite beefy in the hand, but it does feel actually really nice, especially because of all these rounded corners. It is very easy to grip and hold. It does not feel like I'm going to drop it, and I have very, very small hands. And even for my hands, I find this to be quite perfect. Now, taking a little bit of a look around the phone, here we have first and foremost the star of this phone. The whole reason why I just had to get this guy to check it out. It comes in three different flavors. You can get a version that is QWERTY, it comes with a version that is AZERTY, and there's also Quartz. At the top here we have a notification LED, we have a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. We've also got a proximity sensor / ambient light sensor. On the side here we have a volume rocker and also a multifunction button that I will explain a little bit more about later. On the top of the phone here we have our microphones. We've also got our power button. Now there's something to say about the power button. I know a lot of people don't like to reach up and have to bother with that power button. What's really nice is that you can swipe up from the bottom of the display and it turns it on for you. We've got our standard headphone jack. We've got a micro HDMI port, we've got our micro USB port, we've got another microphone here on the bottom, and also a really nice sounding speaker grill. On the back here we have an 8 megapixel camera with a single LED flash. Now what I'm finding a little bit confusing about this device is what this back cover is actually made of. I have seen two different variations now. There is one that looks like this one that actually went to market, and another one that was a lot more textured. You can actually feel that it was textured, and that is what I thought was the glass weave version, but this is the one that BlackBerry released. To me it feels just like rubber. I can't tell a difference, but what they are calling it, supposedly, if it's not just rubber, is glass weave, and it's supposed to be stronger than plastic. On the back side here you can see that we have our NFC antenna. Now I really don't know if this is a marketing ploy or if this truly is this glass weave type material that is stronger than plastic, but either way it feels nice. It does seem so far to be resisting scratches quite well, and I feel that it's giving it a bit of a non-slip grip. So rubber or glass weave or not, I think it feels quite nice and complements the phone. As for specs on this guy, we pretty much have the Snapdragon version of the Galaxy S3. You have the Snapdragon S4 processor that's clocked at 1.5 gigahertz. You've got 2 gigs of RAM. You also have the Adreno 225 GPU. And also what's quite funny is that the battery is 2,100 milliamp hours, just like it was on the Galaxy S3. One thing that I almost forgot to mention is that it looks like when all things are finalized and said and done, there is no OMAP version of the BlackBerry Q10. I downloaded all the documentation. It seems that there are 5 versions of the BlackBerry Q10, and each and every one of those have at least either 1 to 5 LTE bands. What was claimed with the OMAP version is that it was not able to support LTE bands, so areas of the world that did not have LTE were going to get the OMAP version, but lo and behold, areas of the world that don't have LTE still got a phone that had a certain amount of LTE bands. So it looks like there is no variation. They are all the Snapdragon. The display on this phone is also very similar to the Galaxy S3. Samsung makes the AMOLED panels. This is Super AMOLED. It's 720 pixels by 720 pixels. And also it is pentile just like the Galaxy S3, so it's not going to be as sharp as some other displays that are 720p. But honestly, even though this display is pentile, it is a bit smaller than the Galaxy S3 display, so you're going to have a little bit higher of a pixel density. And at least for me, the jump up between 306 pixels per inch to 328 pixels per inch is actually pretty noticeable, and I don't think this display is half bad. Since this display is Super AMOLED, it does have a very wide color gamut, as you can see here. The smaller triangle is the sRGB color gamut, or what is shown normally with LCD displays. You've got a wider color space as represented by the larger triangle, and at least it isn't really oversaturating, just a little bit in the reds, but mostly the colors are really nice. As for the color temperature of the display, it is a little bit under 7500 K. It's a tad bit on the bluish side, but honestly, it is not so bad. The best thing would be around 6500 K, but at least it's not skyrocketing to like 8000 K, so really not too bad. One thing that became immediately apparent to me about this phone is the fact that it does not have the ability to turn auto brightness on or off. Auto brightness is on all the time. Actually, the phone chooses for you how the brightness is supposed to be. All this is right here is just an offset as to where in that auto brightness setting that it had set itself. It lets you choose a little bit within that range. But overall, you really don't have that much control over the brightness. I am on the least brightness right now, and I can't turn it down any more than that. But if I go into a dark environment, it's going to decide for itself that, hey, it's pretty dark here, and it will go down pretty dim. So it does do a good job. I don't see it jumping terribly in auto brightness, so it's implemented quite well. The biggest thing about this phone that I absolutely love is this keyboard. After having this phone for a few days and playing around with this keyboard, I don't know what I'm going to do, honestly. I'm probably going to have to get a keyboard attachment for my Galaxy S4 or something, because this is just so wonderful. I make less mistakes when typing. The tactile feedback is just nothing to compare to. I'm so sad that there are no more phones like this on the market. I would really like to have another option besides BlackBerry. I like how they are laid out here in a perfect row. I did have a BlackBerry Bold, and it was curved a little bit with the keys, and I found that to be sometimes awkward. So I really like how they have changed this arrangement. Also, you can see that the keys have a little bit of a curve on them. For one half of the keyboard, we have it aiming in this direction. The other half of the keyboard, we have the curve aiming in this direction. That's meant so you don't accidentally reach over and press another key. You can tell where you are. Now, this keyboard is not just a keyboard. It doesn't just type out messages, but actually it is fully integrated with the rest of the phone. There are shortcuts and controls galore that I've actually found to be quite useful. So let's take a look at the web browser with these keys, or my shortcut keys. This is angeloftech.com, my brand new website. Starting with R, if you press on it on a website, you can actually get a reader-friendly view. If anywhere on a web page you need to scroll downward and you really don't want to be flicking your finger on the screen the entire time, what you can do is press the space bar and it's going to take you down one whole page. If you want to get back up to the top, you just need to hold the shift button and the space bar at the same time, and it's going to take you up one whole page length. Pressing I is going to let you zoom in. Pressing O is going to let you zoom out. Pressing P is going to take you to the previous web page you were looking at. Then pressing N is going to pull you forward in the web browser. Pressing S will allow you to search for something within that web page. H will bring up your history. K will bring up your bookmarks. L will reload the web page for you. B is going to bring you all the way to the bottom of a web page, while pushing T will bring you right back up to the top. Within a text message, holding down the 0 key is going to bring up voice dictation for you. Hello there, how are you? And actually it works very, very well. It seldom makes a mistake. Then underneath your dialer, if you hold down the $ key, it's going to bring up the speakerphone for you. And if you want to mute a call, you can just tap on this button here and it will mute it for you. Also, if you are watching a video or playing some type of media content, pressing one time down on this is going to pause it. If you hold on to it, it's going to bring up voice control for you. Otherwise, if you want to use the keyboard for any type of shortcuts, if you are within the launcher, just say if I was to type something out like David. It's going to immediately pull it up within search, and it's going to look through the phone within my emails, my contacts, anything, and it's going to find David if it finds any mention of that. In this case, we see David Firth, who is the guy who created Salad Fingers. I don't know why I like this series. I know it's creepy. Don't judge me. And how nice, if I need to do an extended search, it's going to let me search for David, just say in maps. I don't know where this is, but I'm in France right now, and, well, I can travel there if I felt like it. I can also do things like telling it to tweet, and it's going to say post tweet, so I can immediately tweet whatever right from here. Haha, see? I can easily post it. That's actually really nice. It's fully integrated within the system. You can also do this with Facebook. You can also do this with text messaging, email, so it is very Very nice. This keyboard is just awesome. The biggest advantage of the keyboard for me is that it helps with the display being so small. One thing that's really great about BlackBerry is that they have this BlackBerry Flow that lets you peek. This is BlackBerry Peek, and I can also go between and look at my BlackBerry Hub, and I can also get to my open frames. This is the multitasking of the phone, and it lets me see what's open. But the disadvantage is that since this display is so small, it's really easy to execute this. So just say I'll be going up and down the web page, I'm doing my thing, and then boom! I accidentally open up the frame screen, and it's so irritating. I do this several times a day. It's been getting lower and lower as I'm getting used to using this, but it's irritating. So I'm finding that having the keyboard to step in there and scroll through web pages for me really takes away the burden of accidentally executing that BlackBerry Flow. So how am I feeling about BlackBerry Flow? Well, I actually really like it, and I sometimes wish that other phones would have it as well. Being able to turn on my display from going from the bottom like this is just classic. I don't know why I haven't seen other phones doing this. After I've gotten the hang of it, and also discovered that I can use the keyboard to help me instead of accidentally executing BlackBerry Flow, I'm getting kind of irritated with my Android phone because I am habitually going from the bottom upward on accident, and I'm expecting something to happen, and of course nothing does. So yes, I actually really do like the gestures once I have gotten used to them. I do find it really nice that I don't have to be interrupted with what I was doing, so I can go up from the bottom, pull up BlackBerry Peek, and see any of my notifications. If I want to see what's going on in the hub, I can still keep my finger in the web browser, go over, and here I can see all my emails and whatever was going on. Slide backward, and it immediately resumes what I was doing, so I find that to be quite nice. BlackBerry Hub integrates everything together, so I have notifications, I have my BlackBerry text messages, my Gmail, my Facebook, my Twitter, Google Talk, calls. Everything is alerted within the BlackBerry Hub. So I don't have to go searching through several different accounts. While the BlackBerry doesn't really have widgets, I think that this actually really helps. I can see everything all at once, including my calendar. So no, within the launcher, there are no widgets. It looks a lot more like iOS. It will put a little asterisk in red to let you know if there's a new message there. So I think for an Android user, BlackBerry Hub will help substitute for all of those widgets that you are used to. Also, when you look at the frame screen, this is your multitasking, a lot of the widgets are actually live widgets that update in the background. So I have my battery widget right here, and it's telling me updating in real time what the battery actually is. So depending on what the application is, it will update in the background as well. You can see that I have a missed phone call there, and it will let you know. Now, when it comes to applications, one thing that you should probably take into consideration if you're thinking of getting a BlackBerry Z10 or even the Q10 is the fact that it really doesn't have all that many applications. When you look at something like Android or even something like iOS, there's just so many applications for these two platforms. BlackBerry is really lagging behind. I think that most people who get a BlackBerry are probably not going to care about that. But for someone like me who's coming from Android, I get a little bit irritated that there are very simple things missing. People's favorite apps can range from productivity apps to gaming to social networking apps. The best thing to do before investing in and getting a BlackBerry is to go to the BlackBerry World website and check to see if your favorite apps are there. One option that you have for BlackBerry is that you can take some Android applications and you can repack them and have them run on BlackBerry. I'm going to provide all the links that you need in the description so you can check all those out. But the process basically goes like you take an APK file, you repack it, and it turns into a bar file, and then you can install it onto the BlackBerry device. This does not work with all Android applications. At this current moment, it's only working for applications that were supported from Gingerbread. Android applications that were created for Android 4.0 and upward will not work with this particular process, although with BlackBerry 10.2, we are currently at 10.1, you should be able to actually use applications from 4.0 and upward. But still, some applications will not work with taking APK files and repacking them to bar files. You can't just expect to take something like Granny Smith, repack it, and have it work on here. For example, with the links below, I was able to take Temple Run from the Android market and install it onto my BlackBerry. Watch what happens when you execute it. Yay! Sorry, it crashed. It can't run on here. Too bad. So I'm really hoping that developers take more interest in BlackBerry, but I really don't know, considering that only like 2% of the market cares about BlackBerry. So I really don't know the kind of interest that developers are going to take. So love your BlackBerry Q10 for what it is and not what it could be as compared to the other devices on the market. I was able to repack Netflix though, and Netflix works, yippee! But sadly, as I am in France, it's just going to load and say that sorry, BlackBerry is not available in your country, but it works. For me, I'm missing applications like Facebook Pages Manager, but even though I'm missing certain applications like that, at least the web browser is absolutely fully functional, has full Flash support, and has been absolutely brilliant. The browser is quick and snappy and does everything that I can possibly need it to. I can easily access all my social sites when I need to. I can easily edit my WordPress website when I need to. So having a very nice web browser works splendidly. Another thing that I need to remark about bugginess and making sure that your phone works optimally is paying attention to what you're actually installing onto your phone. Some applications in the BlackBerry world market are not real ported applications that were made for BlackBerry. They're actually still APK files that were repacked by the developer and then turned into a bar file, put onto the BlackBerry World Store, and people download them. The thing is that they're not always very stable. Sometimes they have problems, sometimes they drain battery. So anytime you get an application, it's smart to pull down from the top. You can usually tell if it's not an official BlackBerry app by going underneath the menu. You can see here that this is actually the Android menu with the Android layout. This is not what you would see normally inside of a BlackBerry app. Applications that are written for Android will have access to a menu on the side here, or they will have access to settings at the top. As far as watching media on this device, yes, you can watch videos, and since the display is quite nice, it's an okay experience. Watching YouTube videos is an okay experience, even though it's very, very small. A downside is that it does not support AC3 audio, so if you have a video that has AC3 audio in it, you're going to have to re-encode it. For example, I have one of my favorite childhood movies on here. This is The Year Without a Santa Claus. If I try to open it up, it does have AC3 audio in it, and it's going to say this file contains an unsupported media format, and then I'm going to cry and get really sad, so just pay attention to that. Also, I recommend opening up videos not from the File Explorer or File Manager that they have given you here. If I try to open Harry Potter, it's going to tell me unable to open it right here. That's actually because it has two audio tracks. One is AC3 and the other one is AAC. So in the case where I have a video that has two different audio tracks, one which is not supported, it's best just to go into the video player and open up the video from there. And now you can see it plays! And is very small. Now when it comes to battery life, I have to say that I disagree with a lot of things that I've been hearing. People say that the battery life is fantastic, it's phenomenal. I don't know who's been saying that, but I am seeing that the battery life is okay, it's about average. I can generally get through the day. If I'm using it really heavily, it'll be dead after 5 hours. If I'm using it more moderately, it'll be okay for about 8 hours. So I was shocked because on my previous BlackBerry, the battery life was really good. And on this guy here, I'm like, oh, this is not so good. It's got a really small display. So because it's got a really small display, I figured the battery life would be pretty phenomenal. Also, it's got a 2,100 milliamp hour battery in this guy, but really it's not so impressive. It kind of reminds me more along the lines of an Android phone like the Galaxy S3, which doesn't really shock me because it's got kind of the same hardware in here. Now I can blame some of the battery drain on possibly things that are not optimized to run on here, but what I would actually say is that the battery life really isn't very phenomenal. Plus this phone gets very hot. The battery is actually getting very hot. On the left-hand side of the phone, even if I'm not doing anything really intensive, just web browsing, it's overheating and it's a little bit frustrating. This phone is pretty much always constantly warm in hand. It also gets very, very warm while charging. Fix it, BlackBerry! Fix it! Now as for the camera and the application itself, it's actually pretty good. It's got a really nice little shooter here. Pictures are clear and sharp without over-sharpening, so it's really, really nice for a lot of things. The colors are actually quite nice as well. You've got a variety of ways to edit your picture via crop and transform. You can auto enhance, you can get rid of red eye, you can control your brightness, you control your white balance, your contrast, your sharpness, your saturation. You can get rid of noise if you'd like to. There's a ton of filter choices. Now it looks like a hippo. You can make it all green. Now he's a drowning hippo. And then I can save it and share it if I'd like. You can revert to your front-facing camera. You have a couple different modes. You have stabilization, burst shot, HDR. It's actually pretty impressive, the amount of things that they have in here. You can choose your scene. You can have action, whiteboard, night, beach or snow. Of course, you have your flash settings. And I really love that they let you choose your aspect ratio. So you have a 1:1 aspect ratio, which would be just this square. Would work really great for something like Instagram. You've got 4:3, which would just be a normal size picture. Then you've got 16:9, which would be full screen, like something like this guy here. I also really love this best face feature. It works really well. So just say that you're sitting with a bunch of people and you want to take a picture and someone isn't smiling, you can go and edit their face and get that best shot. So here's me. Yeah, I took just the most lovely picture I could possibly take, and I can say, well, you know, I want to change my face to something better. Here we go. This one's perfect. I select it and it superimposes it onto my face. I can then hit check. Awesome. And then I can share that, or I can save it in my gallery. So this works really, really well. That's just so attractive.
Just kidding, this is what I actually look like. Nah, come on, I'm not actually that hideous.
So thank you everybody for watching. This has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. I hope I informed you a little bit about the BlackBerry Q10. I didn't have a chance to do a fully huge in-depth review, but I think it gives you an idea of what to expect with this guy. Please visit angeloftech.com, my website. I have a forum there. You can ask me questions or other people can answer your questions. You can also like me on Facebook. So this is a really nice little phone. I think it's going to appeal especially to those who are very nostalgic about having a keyboard. But I have to say that it's convinced me that I need to get a keyboard. I need to get one. There is one for the Galaxy S4, and I'm sure there's also one for the iPhone 5. Good night!